How's it going, guys? It is Kyle. We are back again for another vlog, and today we're going to be talking about mock exam sessions and how to actually do an exam in these sessions. So let's get started. Cool, guys. So the actual sessions, how long does it take to do an exam? What order should I do the exam in? And how should I do it? So starting right at the beginning, okay? The exams on the website is in the exact same order as what you would find in the actual exam, which means follow that specific order unless told otherwise, which I'll get into in a second. But just for an average time span of how many lessons or how many hours or how many minutes I should take per lesson, or not a lesson, I lie, per exam, if you look at the first one, you're reading and you're writing. It's 2-in-1 and it's focused on, well, reading and writing. You're looking at 1 hour and 30 minutes for the actual exam, which essentially means, well, 3 sessions, provided or assuming you're spending 30 minutes per session on their work. If you're keeping it to 25 minutes, 26 minutes, or 27 minutes, whatever the case may be, obviously it'll extend a little bit longer, but on average you're looking at 3 30-minute sessions, which is a normal length of a session at IQ Bar, okay? Now, when we go on to the listening activity, okay, now this is where it gets a little tricky. So essentially, it's 30 minutes to do the exam. However, there's an extra 6 minutes to copy down the answers on the answer sheet, okay? Now, assuming that your Bready doesn't have the answer sheet in front of them, which they probably won't, you don't necessarily have to have or give them that extra 6 minutes to copy everything down, as they're going to be telling you the answer as you asking them, and you're going to correct them as they get it wrong. So there's no sort of extra 6 minutes, if that makes any sense, right? So I would look at it as plus minus a session, a 30-minute session. Obviously, if you have a 25-minute session, well, the next session you have, well, spend an extra 5 minutes to complete it, if they haven't completed it. Understand that this is the most amount of time. If he's a genius, yeah, and finishes it quicker, well, that's A for a way as well. Just move on to the next thing. But don't go anything longer than the time specified. And the reason for that is because you want to mimic that same pressure, that same amount of, I've got to get this done in this amount of time, otherwise I'm failing. Otherwise, there's no point preparing or going through a mock exam if the actual conditions aren't exactly the same. Now, the last one, your speaking exam. Again, this is all to do with speaking as well, and you're looking at, well, 10 to 12 minutes. So because of the fact that it's so short, it takes 12 minutes to get through the test, what I'll essentially do, if I'm doing a speaking exam, I'll maybe do 2 or 3 speaking exams in a row, okay? Provided that they have different questions, or the questions change slightly, or ask them in a different way, okay? Use your own questions or your own exam questions that you've researched before the lesson. Preparation is key, but ideally for the speaking exam, you're looking at 10 to 12 minutes per exam, which is essentially, well, 1 session or 10 to 12 minutes of a session. So just to recap that, reading and writing, 2-in-1, it's 3 sessions, hour and a half each, right? Hour and a half each per exam, not each. Listening, 36 minutes, take away the 6 minutes because they're not going to be writing anything down, and you're looking at a session, okay? Speaking, 10 to 12 minutes, so do more than 1 if you can, or start going into another one. However, if you do finish an exam earlier, mark the time spent on that exam so the next buddy can go, cool, this guy spent 20 minutes of an hour and a half exam in the previous session. So now this session, I can only spend X amount of time with him before we move on to something else, or before I kind of get him to, come on, let's go, let's go, let's go. We got to finish it. Time's running out. Cool. So let's move on to the next section. Cool, guys. So the actual PET exam, okay, this is a PET exam. I'm not going to go through every single one of them because they pretty much follow the same principles, right? But how do we actually teach this? Now, the speaking part will focus on speaking activities. So, for example, we look at the first question and we can go, write the questions and ask your partner. Now, remember, in the PET exam, there's going to be 2 of them. The first part is A speaks to B, and then A speaks to the examiner, B speaks to the examiner, and then they speak to each other again, okay? So the first part, well, is they speaking to each other. So you are essentially going to be the partner. So for the first one, what I would recommend specifically for this exercise, don't do it first, or don't go first, I should say. Why? Because you're going to end up giving him the answer. What? Your name. Well, how do you put that into a sentence? What is your name? And then you tell him that, and then he goes, oh, well, I know the answer for that. Bam, don't have to think. So make sure that they go first. So they get the first exercise. What's your name? They have to get it or make sentences from those or make questions from those. So as they ask the question, you answer it. Then they go to the next one. They unjumble that one. They ask the question, you answer it. And you go down the list all the way until you've done all 5 questions. And then you trade over because now obviously they need the speaking practice. So now they've already answered the questions. They know what it says. So it's all good. So now you can go, well, what is your name? And then they answer it in full sentences. My name is John. My name is Mary. What is your surname? Or sorry, how do you spell your surname? Well, I spell my surname like this. Saddington. Okay, they might say double D, they might not. Doesn't make a difference as long as they get the spelling correct. Okay, and go down the list or go down through the 5 questions the exact same way. Once you've done that, give them a mark. I would give each point or each question 1 point. Well, they managed to unjumble it. Perfect. Bam, bam, bam. They managed to answer it. Bam, bam, bam. Give it a tick. Give a full mark out of 10 and then mark it off like that. Okay. Once you get to the next one, and now here comes the tricky part, right? And I'm going to explain how to do it in a second. Okay. So you get to the next one, an exam task, and it says track 13. Now complete the examiner's question in phase 2 of part 1, then listen and check. So how on earth do we do that? Well, first of all, you have to go all the way over here, bam, to your exam preparation, PET, because that's what we're doing, your past papers, and again, I'm doing the whole hand signs as if you can actually see me, but you can't, your past papers, and then your past papers exam boosters, and then go even further and go exam boosters for PET, audio, and all your audio tracks will be there from 1 all the way down to 24. If it's not there, give Sarah or Tamsin a shout or Nicole, and then I was going to say something and then it just kind of like sidetracked completely, and then they'll obviously help you out, right? So let's get back to that exam. Once you've uploaded the question or the audio in the class, you guys all know how to do that. I'm not going to go through that right now, but play it for them, bam, let them listen to it and then let them answer the question, okay? Just so they get an idea. Wow. Once they've done that, I'll do that for the first one. Once they've done that, they understand what's going on. Well, now, wham, I'll do it the correct way. Okay, so they're going to complete the questions. They're going to fill in the gaps for what they think or whatever words they think should fit in there. And then we're going to listen to the rest of it and actually double check. Again, a point for getting it right, well, no points for getting it wrong. And then go down through every single question like that, okay? Then once we've done that, and again, like I said, this is a speaking exam, so it's more focused on the actual structure of their sentences rather than, or the words that they use rather than their ability to listen, okay? That'll come up later on in one of the other exams. So if we go down to this page, and I went through these 2 pages in the previous vlog as well, so I'm not going to touch on it too much. But again, now they're speaking about families, okay? And they've given an extra, or not an extra, they've given a letter in each one for you to unjumble or for the person to actually guess what it is, the Brady, okay? So let's just zoom in so we can actually see that nicely. Your something is your aunt and uncle's son or daughter. What could that be? It has an S in it. And if they're struggling, which they shouldn't at this point in time, because of the fact that this is an exam that they're doing, I would sit there at least for 5 seconds, 6 seconds, and just kind of go, making sound effects. What could this be? This seems very different. I've got it. Do you know? And they'll either get it or they won't, but either way, okay, I won't give them the answer too much, and I won't sit there and actually give letters unless I really have to. Well, it could actually start with a C, so let's put a C in there. It ends with an N, and now you've got CSN. Can you figure it out now? But you want to try, like I said, let me rephrase that. Like I said, you want to mimic those exam conditions. So make it as difficult as you possibly can with obviously giving a little bit of help. Ooh. Okay, and then go down the rest of the line exactly the same way. Point for right, no points for incorrect. Okay, now, what I said earlier in the previous vlog as well is this part is probably the most important part. It's an exam fact, and there's lots of them scattered all over the exam. Make sure you read it to them, even if it takes up a little bit of that time that I said that you can only have. Read it to them, make sure that they understand it, and then move on to the next section. Okay, bam. So now the next part over here, match 1 to 8 to A to H to make questions about job skills. Now, the one thing that I've picked up on is a lot of my Breadies don't really understand what that little dash means. So what they'll read is they'll go match 1-8 to A-H. And then I'll ask them, well, what does that dash mean? And they won't know. So just explain to them if you need to. If they know, all good, don't explain it, right? Just explain that it means from 1 all the way to 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then from A all the way to H. Now, here's the thing. Even if they have the tools in the classroom, don't let them go match, 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 because it's a speaking exam. They need to speak. So get them to read the first one. Do you have good? Fast learner? Ooh. Do you have good at solving problems? Do you have good at organized persons? Do you have good at, oh, sorry, there's no at. Do you have good communication skills? Well, that could work. Bam, perfect. So I'll still go and explain one. Bam. And the rest I'll have them do. Again, if they really need help, I'll help them out, but mimic those conditions as much as you possibly can. And that's essentially your speaking one. You're focusing on speaking, give a tick or give a mark if it's right, don't give a mark if it's wrong, okay? And then go through the exam within the time limit. What I'll also do, and this will help the next buddy as well, is use the classroom clock, okay? If you look over here, you'll see a whole bunch of tools. There's the spinner tools, there's the multiple choice tool, there's the timer, and I think there's 1 or 2 other tools as well there. Use the timer, put in however many time you need to. For example, if it's the speaking, if I remember correctly, is 10 to 12 minutes, right? Put in 12 minutes on the clock, bam, and hit play. And then let the minutes count down. Bam, 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 bam. Then the Brady can see it, you can see it, and you don't have to watch time and all that jazz. You know exactly what's going to happen. And then the next buddy can go, he did the reading and writing exam. It's meant to be an hour and a half. But in that lesson, he only spent 15 minutes of it. And then they'll minus that from the actual time, and then after away, everything works out perfectly, right? So if we go away from this, let's go to bam and to your listening one. This is the one that kind of gets a little bit tricky, but I want to stress a couple of things on here. Now, make sure you upload the audio before the lesson and you made sure that it's the correct audio. Just because it says 1 and 1 doesn't mean it's the same one. I speak from experience. Doing a pet objective workbook lesson. Me, myself, and I uploaded a audio track that was labeled number something. However, I didn't look at the CD number. So I took it from CD1 when it was supposed to be CD2, and it was the wrong exercise when I got in the class. However, my lightning fast reflexes, managed to save the day, and I managed to put the right audio in the class without wasting any time, okay? I did not admit that on camera. Anyway, moving on swiftly. So just make sure it's the right audio, test it before the lesson, and make sure that you know the answer to it, okay? Because there's no answer sheets for the exams. Now, if we go straight to the bottom over here, wham, pretend I'm highlighting, okay? Each one has a question, and each one obviously has the audio to it. Now, what I generally do now is I'll read the question to them. What did the man do at the sports center yesterday? First, and I know this isn't in the exam, but I would first check if they understand what that question means. And then I'll go, cool, listen to the question or listen to the audio. You know the question now. And then I'll play it. And now they know the question in the back of their mind. They know what they're looking for. As opposed to letting them listen and then read the question. And now they kind of hit a blank because they weren't really listening for anything specific, right? So read the question, play the audio. Ask them, do they want to hear it again? Yes. Play it again. That's twice. No more. And then they answer. If they get it right, yeah, trophy time. If they get it wrong, well, moving on swiftly to the next one. Or you could explain why they got it wrong. Now, again, what I will do is get them to read the question this time. Which sport does the woman compete in? What does that mean? What does compete mean? Does it mean which sport does the woman do? Or which sport can't the woman do? And they'll explain it to me. I'll go, perfect, A for win. Now we know what we're listening to. Bam. They listen to it once, twice, and then let them answer. Now, again, like I said earlier, or not earlier, in the previous edition, the previous vlog, I said I've got a Brady that likes to write the answers down as he's listening to it. Rather get them to listen to it first and then answer the question, okay? Because it just helps them focus 110% on the actual audio as opposed to writing and listening at the exact same time, okay? And then as we go through, well, we're going to end up doing that exact same thing throughout the lesson. Next question, play the audio. Next question, play the audio. Next question, play the audio, okay? And then, for example, this fact will be dedicated to this exam, the speaking exam. In this part, you listen to 7 conversations or a monologue, which means a conversation between 1 or 2 or 1 person talking. There are 7 questions, each with 3 pictures. You have to choose the picture A, B, C that matches, A, B, or C, that matches to what they are saying, okay? That's just a little fact file that you can explain to the Bready, so he knows exactly what's going on at that specific time, right? So, my recap on my exams and all my mock sessions. Speaking, obviously focus on speaking. Don't get them to match and use the tools. They just need to speak, okay? Give homework that is dedicated to speaking. Ask them to speak about themselves, to describe their parents, to describe their family, because that was one of the questions from the speaking exam, right? The listening one, well, tell them to listen to something at home, okay? And then they need to repeat it to you, all right? So for example, let them listen to their favorite song, and then they can repeat it to you. Or get something in the classroom, right? Let them listen to it, and then for homework, they've got to describe what they actually heard, right? So now they've got to try and remember over a day or a period of X amount of time and still repeat it to you the exact same way. Listening. Reading and writing will get them to read something. Even if you were to give them an article for homework, get them to read it or practice reading it, and then the next time they'll read it to you. Or writing, give them a writing task, okay? And make sure they actually write it down. There's no point going, can you write about the history of chocolate? And they come into class and they've memorized everything, right? Because that's not practicing reading. Sorry, practicing writing. That's practicing while speaking. Okay, so give homework specifically for those exams. And then make sure that they're actually writing and reading in those exams, right? So I don't have a writing or reading exam in, but I'm just going to go through a couple of points at this time, okay? And all what that means is reading, get them to read every single thing, make sure their pronunciation is amazing, and they understand everything 110%, okay? That's the key detail right now, is their understanding. And then obviously for the writing, get them to write stuff down. Tell them for the next lesson, they need to bring a pen and paper, right? They're going to have 20 minutes or 15 minutes or 5 minutes or 10 minutes to write a story about XYZ. Make sure they have a pen and paper. And then in that exam, one of the questions is, can you write about the history of chocolate? And then they write about the history of chocolate, right? Clearly, I'm a little bit hungry, right? So that's pretty much it for exam mock sessions. Peace out.